where the fun begins.
Hello, welcome to the Council. We begin tonight's meeting of the Council by calling the Council to order. Hello to everyone and thanks for joining us. The Council is a live Twitch talk show and podcast discussing Star Wars: The Old Republic. I'm Elise, and with me are my fellow Council members, Magic Ace.
Hello. I keep myself muted because my daughter's been screaming.
So I was going to say, you could just wave. Redna.
Hey, I am not going to mimic today. Woohoo!
Oh, okay. And Sakari.
Hello, everybody. I was going to say, how do you mimic when she doesn't say anything? We just all stay silent?
I know, you should
Well,
have.
I could have mentioned that I keep muting myself because of my kid too, but...
It's just like, this is a discussion about miming, so we're just going to act it out. Yeah, that worked. Sorry, terrible.
He's lying. Don't listen to Sakari. He's lying. He's just teasing us. But I will attempt to get through this part without Magic Baby overrunning the show.
Wait a minute. I have to say what we're going to talk about today, and that is the roadmap. So we're going to be talking about streaming, hopefully next week, but I don't know what's going to happen next week, so I'm just going to say tentatively, but
yes, it's
true.
Be forewarned, or the foreshadowing is there will be a part 2.
There will be a part 2. Maybe
yeah,
next
we
week.
were planning to do it this week.
Maybe not.
But they surprised us with some content, some good content too. All right, Magic, over to you.
There you go. Have at it.
Well, fine then. Okay. After our live broadcast, you can find our recorded episodes everywhere I found. I promise Magic Baby is in those too. You can find us on our YouTube channel and our social medias like Twitch or Facebook.com/CouncilSWTOR or Twitter at the Council SWTOR. We also have thecouncilswtor.com, which is our website, and we have Patreon, patreon.com/CouncilSWTOR, and just generally any search engine you can type us in, and we are everywhere. It's great.
We proliferate all over the place. It's just it's
Yes.
like the dark side spreading across the land. Sorry, terrible. All right, so moving right along.
Wait, isn't that what part? When you remember there was the 2 special quests with McCab that sent you all over the galaxy? Wasn't one of them this like spreading infection going across the galaxy that involved the dark side?
I always think of the Dread Seed when I think of that.
Dread Seed, thank you. That's what it's called.
Yes,
exactly.
That. And then there was also in the consular storyline, I think, wasn't there a disease, a dark side disease that was going to all the masters, and you had to chase them all down and cleanse them with your.
Yeah, it was
Yes, but that was a dark side spell that was cast, and it was absorbing the strength from the masters and giving it all to Terheg Morhige or whatever, or Morhige, whatever the original guy was.
Terek.
Spoiler.
Yeah. I can't remember anymore. I try not to remember the consular storyline because it's my least favorite. I know.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that all of my friends are like as bigger nerds as me. It's just fantastic. All right, let's take a quick second and talk about the icebreaker. The icebreaker is just a question that we used to get the discussion going for any given night. Tonight's question, and it was a discussion this week, so I'm going to pose it to the group. We're going to be very quick with our answer to it. We're not going to belabor it this time. But it's news in the community. We do want to at least address it. The question is, does Wildstar shutting down make you nervous about SWTOR? Magic.
No, because I don't care about games like Wildstar. It's not my jam. I know a lot of people were like, oh, I want to take a break from Star Wars. I'm going to play Wildstar. And like 2 weeks later, they were back, which told me volumes about the game. Because like
right.
Black Desert Online, people would be gone for months, and then they come back, and then they go back for a month, and they come back. It was like back and forth. But like 2 weeks, it was like 2 weeks, and the massive amount of people that I stopped seeing were already back. They're like, yeah, it's got good things, ... and then they just wouldn't like expound on it. So
Because
it doesn't scare me. It doesn't scare me because if it was really detrimental to Star Wars, people would have been coming back to Star Wars. They would have went to another game, in my opinion.
Right.
I'm not scared of it. And also I've read a couple of articles that specifically discuss the problems with Wildstar and how many times they would come up with these amazing promises and whatnot and not come through with them. Way worse than SWTOR's, because at least SWTOR gives you like a bite or a crumb to hang on to. That's a different discussion that we've discussed multiple times. But anyways, No, I don't think it's detrimental to Star Wars personally. It doesn't make me nervous, and I'm not really worried about it. It's another game. I mean, Andromeda, who's of the same branch, shut down like super quick, and we're still here.
Right.
So
right.
I'm not worried about Wildstar.
So I think the only reason that people worry about when a game like it comes out is because it's competing for the same market space, right? It's an MMORPG in the kind of classic understanding of an MMORPG. That competition is what makes people nervous. So a lot of times people are comparing MMORPGs to others because of that. So that's where I think some of the nervousness in the community comes from. Personally, I believe that my take on Wildstar was that it was very niche market. And because it was so ridiculously, I mean, the art style was very cartoony, and that's cool with some people. It isn't for me. It's why I never went to play WoW at all, because I just felt it was always just too cartoony.
Same.
I like a level more kind of. I still like animated art, whatever, but I just want it to be a little bit more closer to realistic. And so I never went over there.
Can I admit something?
Sure.
Because I was in the beta for this game, my actual single reason for joining the beta for this game was to find out if the animation style was corny or cartoony, like World of Warcraft or what Wildstar ended up becoming, right? Like, even though it was Star Wars, if the animation hadn't been what it was, and I think we all know that actually the animation within the game, that's one of the things that they've updated the most regularly since the game launched, actually. Improving shadows and luminosity, which is, light shining through leaves and stuff like that. But,
yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, and the bloom, right. Yeah, all those different things that have really massively increased the appeal of this game. Quite frankly, though, at launch and in beta, if the game hadn't looked as good as it did, and it didn't look cartoony, yeah, it's not freaking human realistic or photorealistic in any way, sense, or shape or form, but it doesn't have that cartoony, cheesy, like, I wanted a game that felt a little bit more approachable, real to me. So
characters that only knee high, for instance, you
get you guys know how much I love Star Wars. I probably would have passed just because I was so burnt on MMOs anyway. So I can totally understand. I guess that's my point, is I can totally understand where you guys are coming from when you mentioned that the art style is kind of a deterrent.
Right, and it didn't appeal to me. And else? I think, well, just to
what else, Takari?
Yeah, just to cap off what I was saying, I think that it's what happens is that you've got an MMO now leaving the MMO space. Guess what? People that were playing that now have to find another game, and guess where they're going to be going in addition to other places. So, also bad timing. WoW just kicked off this massive deal. Everybody's playing that. I think that's probably instrumental in hurting them some. I don't know. It's a complex marketplace, but I don't necessarily see it as a problem for SWTOR, because it's not SWTOR. It's a different company. It's a different market niche. It's just different. I think in enough ways that matter for it not to really affect SWTOR kind of way. I don't think the genre is dying. I just think that was one studio that couldn't keep it together. Anyway, that's my piece. I was gonna say,
just because one game can't cut it doesn't mean the rest of them are doomed.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. Redna, do you have anything more to say to the question?
Well, I wanted to hear Elisa's answer first.
Pass the torch to you and waited to be last.
I look at the list. She didn't rearrange the names.
I was release as well.
I am not worried about SWTOR shutting down this year.
This year?
Is that a good answer?
Well, actually, and I would actually like to know.
That's what I said in January. Me too,
That's
girl.
really funny.
Which is a little different, because I would actually like your thoughts on, does Wildstar's shutting down make you nervous? Like, I know that you know so much about the business. Like, this is your forte, right? And even just gaming industry standards and everything generally. Does the action of Wildstar shutting down make you nervous?
Yes.
Or is it something separate? Yes.
But for this year, no.
Okay.
And I could expand on it, and it probably would be better to be in
to make a whole episode about
it. But my dude asked a game dev, which I'm making an assumption. I don't know if it's a guy or not. Actually, it could be a girl. Actually, somebody asked. One of the last posts he put up was they put up was like a round robin thing, and one of them was what should we have recognized prior to Wildstar shutting down, or something like that.
Mhm.
Like,
That's a good
what are
question,
some
actually.
clues that
Right.
a game is going to shut down? And they listed 6 things of it. And if you think about what happened, you can catch, and they were very specific. You can't just take one of these. You need to have multiple of them happening concurrently.
Right, it's like a chemical reaction. You need multiple components for the event to occur. Yeah.
And there was 3 that Wildstar met. When I was looking at it, thinking, okay, well, how many of these apply to SWTOR? There's firmly 1. At times, there's been another one. I think there's 1. Is there just 1? No, there's 2. So, and then at times there was another one. So
and
there
guess
was,
what? If you're one of our patrons, you get access to the article.
That's right.
A plug.
Because at least I totally want that article. And
I really do. Yeah.
So I have there are certain things about the game, and especially when it comes to that marketing, that just.
Oh, is that the firm number 1? Because I totally agree.
No, there's 2. It's publisher silence on the game at financially relevant. Relevance.
Right.
Thank you. I like messed it up and then I couldn't say it right. Relevance times, like quarterly or annual, like financial time.
That's the kind of coming and going one, because they'll occasionally just pop out and it's like been silent for a year and a half or 2 years, and then all of a sudden they say, and Star Wars The Old Republic actually has remained significantly profitable for us to do this, that, the other.
But when's the last time you've heard them say that?
Yeah, EA hasn't given SWTOR its.
It's been a long time.
It's also partially my own fault because I've also been backing off of even caring.
No, I'm
But
just
that's-
saying I watched for it and they haven't said anything about it.
That is
in
a
quite while.
good criterion.
I think SWTOR is like the redheaded stepchild. Nobody wants to acknowledge that we do good and that it does stuff. They're like, you're beneficial, so I'm going to keep you here, but I'm going to pretend like you don't exist, and I'm just going to keep doing stuff over here.
But that's bad because other AAA game studios don't do things that way.
Oh, I'm not saying it's good. I'm saying that's what it feels
This
like.
is why
when I look at all the stuff that
That's
people.
bad.
Well,
The
when
other
I
one
look
is
at all
age. So the other one that's firmly SWTOR is age. She said anything over 3 years. The older the game is past 3 years, the more likely it is to get shuttered.
Yeah. Okay.
Which, and actually, this is something because in our chat this week, behind the scenes for our patrons, they'll see the links and things that we included. But one of the things that I found fairly interesting, because I can appreciate that analysis, but that's also why I'd really like to read the article for myself. But one of the things that I found most interesting was that the top 10 most popular MMOs in the industry right now are all over 2 years old. There hasn't been a recent one. So then, it starts to make you wonder how that analysis works. So for my own answer, Sakari, I'm ready to go into it. No, Wildstar shutting down makes me not nervous at all whatsoever, because it makes me just as nervous as when Wildstar opened. And everybody at the time was talking about how Wildstar was going to destroy SWTOR. It was a SWTOR killer, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. And I went and I played the beta and I was like, yeah, hell no. Not even going to happen.
Wait, it was a SWTOR killer, not a WoW killer?
No,
what?
It was never given.
They've lowered their expectations, okay?
Oh my.
SWTOR was considered a WoW killer.
I know. That's what I thought everybody was gunning for WoW.
Sure.
How is it SWTOR suddenly?
I think everybody's just accepted it. They're like, WoW is here to stay. Let's aim for SWTOR.
Right.
Take out the next best guy, right?
Well, and
the
also
henchman.
because that's the world I live in. I haven't played SWTOR since 2010, because quite frankly, the game's never done anything to draw me back.
You mean WoW? Did you say SWTOR?
You said SWTOR.
I meant WoW.
I was going to say it might be problematic for our show.
Yeah.
Listen, I am an incredible council member. But as to your point, actually, Sakari, ironically, I would disagree with your one comment that you made yourself, which is that I actually wonder regularly across the board. Now, you mentioned that this is not a genre killer. I actually sometimes ponder that question. I don't think that there will ever be another World of Warcraft. Well, I think I could actually I'll put $1,000 down if I'm ever wrong, whatever. But I don't think World of Warcraft will ever reoccur. And part of that is because I genuinely believe that as a genre, the MMO is actually on significant decline. I don't think that the perpetual world, living environment, massively multiplayer, online role-playing game, and I guess I should say MMORPG, because arguably
the way we understand, well, what's happened is there's been such a blurring of the genres, and they take the genre and then you've got this whole Destiny / Elise is more familiar
MMO Light.
It's MMO, but it's
MMO
not,
Light
and you over the shoulder kind of a thing.
It has just as much role-playing game characteristics as World of Warcraft ever did. Absolutely. Just because it's first-person shooter doesn't make it any less of an MMORPG, in my opinion, right?
The RPG pizzas are pretty light. There's way more first-person shooter. So I have not played WoW, but I'm just saying that from that perspective.
I'm just letting you know, in World of Warcraft, literally the only story that exists is going and reading text.
No, I know. I'm just talking about the RPG parts. Do you know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. Not a story, but like the RPG parts. There's the RPG parts.
There's even less RPG in WoW.
So,
Chad is pointing out that EverQuest is still going strong. So
yeah, and EverQuest still exists. And what's the other one that's actually?
Yeah, but they're
still
not
I
making
think
new
EA.
EverQuest, though.
It's on
just
maintenance.
still going, but
I think EVE Online is the best example, because I think it might even be older than World of Warcraft, or within a couple years of World of Warcraft. Those are the only two really significantly older games, and quite frankly, the only two games that I've ever been concerned about since Star Wars: The Old Republic came out was Elder Scrolls Online, and then this recent one that Magic mentioned, the Desert.
BDO.
Black Desert?
Yeah.
Oh, that's been around for a while because it's a South Korean game that got ported over here a couple of years ago.
And those games gained some significant traction, but the irony is I just don't see none of those things cause me to have concern regarding Star Wars: The Old Republic. And then we could even mention the fact that today Charles Boyd did put out the tweet that he's going back with a bunch of people today to do voiceover work, which obviously is going to be in relation to the content that's being released before the end of the year for the story elements, as well as the expansion they've told us is coming at the beginning of next year. I would assume they're going to handle all that at the same time. Charles Boyd is the lead writer for the Star Wars: The Old Republic content. So at least we know there's content that will be released, because they're not going to be paying to have him voice actor.
Oh, agreed. Yeah, that's a significant
well,
investment.
Well, that's not true either. They canceled Shadow Realms right before they were getting ready to start.
Yes. Okay. So
crap out.
This is a little bit outside or behind the curtains or industry stuff, but I would actually argue that it's less likely to happen like it did for Shadow Realms today than at the time, since the advent of the voice actors strike, the unions and everything, because they actually have to pay a significant more amount of money to those people that are filling those roles, and so they're not going to invest that money quite as frivolously anymore. Previously, they were actually able to get away with paying near minimum wage to video game voice actors because they weren't being given the same degree of respect as other voice acting careers. So in that sense, now granted, you're right, they could still pull the rug out from it. No question.
Yeah, and I guarantee you it's going to come as a surprise when it happens.
And I'm not saying that it is. I don't want anybody saying that I'm like some conspiracy theorist. I'm just saying that.
Yeah,
right.
It
has happened before. Yeah, of course. Anything could happen. I mean, quite frankly, the biggest thing that I think that could cause significant problems would actually be that Disney finally gets fed up with all the scandal and everything from the other Star Wars IPs that EA is responsible for, and finally says, good, we're giving these contracts out to other people, and you know what? Honestly, we don't even like the way that you're handling our IP. We'd like you to shutter all of your existing projects, and pretty much that would be over. Like, and I don't think that's just as likely to happen as having this game end next year.
All right.
So
yeah,
we'll see. But again, back to Wildstar. No, that doesn't make me fear anything.
Fair enough. All right, so we do need to move on into the question, the poll question. I have sent to chat at least the question and the options. They're going in right now.
Good.
You would like to lead us through that?
So I asked, what planet do you think the new storyline will take place on? A. Oh my God, I don't think I should be reading these.
Go for it.
Brenda,
Do it.
Read them.
Do it. Do it now.
On A, Onderon. B.
Oh,
Ossis.
yay.
There you go. No, go ahead. Go ahead. I was just helping you out. I'm getting the ball rolling.
No, go ahead.
I have never heard. I'm keying down like I'm talking on Discord. Just realized that. My bad. I'm gonna stop keying down now. I've never pronounced C.
Harath.
Harath.
Renvar,
yeah.
Ziost, or other. So it's A, B, C, D, E, F. And I already know exactly what I voted for, and I have reasons for it when you guys are ready for it.
All right. If you would please,
She's got
ladies
reasons,
and
yo.
gentle beings, put the corresponding letter into chat, and that you will be able to take part of the poll that way. For instance, if your vote is for Ziost, just say E, enter. And we'll let that tabulate while we ourselves answer it. I'm going to go first in my answer because mine was simple. I couldn't vote. I had no idea. I looked at this poll. This is definitely a very... You have to know your lore poll in order to answer this. I was amazed that there were so many people that actually voted. It was actually really cool. We'll talk about the results in a minute. I couldn't answer because I know about Onderon. I know about Ziost. The other ones are new to me, so because I haven't gone into that. So I abstained. I recused myself.
He never read the Legacy comics, so he doesn't know anything about Ossis.
I'm clueless.
Disgust me, Sakari. No,
I know.
I'm going to be in the disgusting chair with you or couch with you because I have not. We're going to make it a couch because the chair would be creepy.
It's a dual recusal. If two members of the council recuse themselves, you can't have we do not have a quorum. All right, so now to our lore buffs.
Why do I like the word quorum so much?
It's wonderful. It's got a great sound.
Not to get off topic or anything.
All right, so which one of you wants to go first? Because I know you want to
go Redna, so that he doesn't talk over me. Because when I tell my lore stuff, he's like, "Oh, but," and I'm like, "Wait, I'm not done." So Redna, you go first.
Because you two
Okay.
getting started is like starting up a chainsaw.
Yes,
It takes a while and it goes.
Let me remind you.
Did you want Elise to go before me
short.
then, and then I'll go
No,
before Magic?
I really my vote is Ziost. Okay, now
Okay.
I'm moving on. So that's because that's the only one I know.
It's the only one that you
Fair enough.
I almost feel like
we have the whole rest of the show, so make it quick.
Right. I almost feel like we should copy paste all of our chat around this subject in our Slack into a feature for our patrons, because we really did, and I detailed out a lot of information there.
Yes.
But
you should see the behind the scenes chatter on the guys. It's amazing.
I'm going to break ranks and say enter.
Okay.
That's what you said to do to vote, right?
Enter. Yes.
You literally said say enter, so that's what I said.
So
Say
your vote is recorded for Renvar. Proceeding on.
Renvar. Now, this is a less known planet. A lot of people aren't as familiar with it. I did actually waste the time to figure out every single planet mentioned or utilized within the comic series that was referenced in our post. The one thing, and I'll put a link into the chat room, and we can share it with others later. But this is, of course, Legends material. But Renvar was a planet that was situated near the Tione cluster in the Outer Rim territories in one of the former Thanium worlds. It was the first planet in the Tobali system throughout the history of the Galactic Republic. Renvar was covered in ice, rendering it almost uninhabitable.
Rice would be super cool.
Rice would be awesome. Remains of an ancient civilization and old Jedi artifacts were found beneath the ice on the planet. Remnants of a former population, right? It was once a fertile paradise with vegetation and wildlife, but thousands of years before the Clone Wars, an atmospheric cataclysm turned it into an icy hibernal surface. So, our post
I like
mentioned,
that word, cataclysm.
Right, and I believe that our post from SWTOR referenced the fact that it had previously suffered from a global cataclysm, and that it was also important to the ancient Jedi. So those are the two reasons why I think, while this is outside of what others have generally leaned towards, I wanted to make a good point for this planet. I know that, actually, I think that Magic might go somewhere different, and I'll give you my backup later when we get into the discussion.
No, that was going to be my original choice, but the hope in me won out, and so I had very specific reasons for choosing Onderon. In KOTOR 1 and 2, Onderon was significant, specifically 2. It mentions it in KOTOR 1, but in KOTOR 2, you go to Onderon, you have things that you're doing, and you also go to Dunxon. And the reason why, which is the moon orbiting Onderon. So the reason why I thought that it was specifically important is because if they chose Onderon, it would also open up the chance for another planet without doing another planet. They would be able to also have a story on Dunxon. And then with the Mandalorians, like that's where Canderous Ordo took over as Mandalore and set up his Mandalorians there. They were fighting in the jungles of Dunxon, which were supposed to be extremely deadly, and that it claimed the lives of dozens of their men all the time. It was a very, very harsh environment. And in the Bane books, I love Bane, you guys might have heard that a time or two. Bane goes to Dunxon. He finds, Freedon Nat, I believe.
You're saying Duxon, right?
Duxon.
Okay.
D-X-U-N.
It's D-X-U-N. I put it into chat.
Okay, thank
you.
you.
I was about to type it, yes. Okay, so
right.
Freedon Nat, I believe it was buried on this moon. I want to say it was him. And there was things in that temple, in his temple or his shrine where he was buried, that was innately significant to the Sith. And it was buried there because the Mandalorians were there because the dark side energies that were from that tomb is what permeated the jungle and made it so deadly. That's why they were there, because they wanted the deadliest of the deadly. Then Onderon itself, which is my whole point, is significant and also mentioned. If you remember in the Flashpoint Legacy of the Rakata, when you see Jakaro in his little droid, he says that he was an interpreter for the Queen of Onderon. I can think it was Queen Lena. And when I first heard that, of course, the nerd in me was like, "Ooh, alarm bells! It's talking about Onderon!" Oh, I was so excited. So then I got to reading some things and trying to brush up on Onderon to remember like the things that I haven't played in a while. What I was reading about was specific to the fact that Revan had significant things going on there. And I'm not saying they're bringing back Revan, so nobody like try to take this. He's not Kefis, okay? I think he's really dead.
Oh my God,
and later in the post, they explicitly excluded Revan, so we're okay.
Exactly,
there.
And they even said it was not Revan, which led me to believe maybe it was going to be Onderon, because they specifically said it's not Revan. And I'm like, well, why would you say that if it was Renvar? Because Revan had nothing to do with Renvar, and he didn't care about that stuff when it came to the Jedi. But the Jedi cared about Onderon because there was actually royalty that often were Force sensitive. And I think it was the Queen that was reigning when Revan was in power, was supporting the Jedi. And there was actually Jedi Masters in KOTOR 2 that were there trying to help the people of Onderon. So
it's been such a long time since I played KOTOR 2 I can't remember. So
yeah,
much.
so
I know you go to Onderon.
Specifically to me, they chose that planet to try to change it, because it was a wild planet, and so the Jedi were there trying to help, I guess, tame and change it. So I chose Onderon because of that, and because they mentioned it in the Legacy of Rakata, I felt like it was kind of like a lead there. But I did originally think Renvar, and then I was like, but the Revan thing, the Revan thing, when they specifically said it wasn't Revan, because Revan was connected to Onderon, made me go, ooh. If it's not, why would they say it? If it's not, maybe I'm just reaching because I really enjoy Onderon, but that was my vote.
So let's see if I can do this, because somebody's just woken up. But the other benefits to Renvar, since we're really getting deep into this, is the fact that actually Grandmaster Satele Shan has been there with a large Republic army. She battled Darth Mekis and a force of Sith during the last months of the Great Galactic War. So it actually has some more recent galactic history that would also tie it into the knowledge of all parties involved right now, that there may be some cause to return to it. Additionally, beyond that, somebody mentioned a good reason why not to, but why I think they may actually consider it, is because this planet was originally designed, I'm still talking about Renvar, by Ralph McQuarrie directly, who did most of the artistic design for the Star Wars. Everything from Vader to planets to everything. And this planet was actually a concept art piece for the ice planet, which ended up becoming Hoth later. And so the comment in the chat room was, we don't need more ice planets. Although I would argue we really only have one significant ice planet, It's okay.
Oh, we have Ilum.
Ilum used to be
Ilum's
important.
a crystal planet, though. Come on now.
But it's ice. Just
But it's
because
ice.
it has crystals in its core doesn't mean it's not ice. It is totally
So-
icy.
Okay, fair enough. Now, I also want to mention before we start tearing through this roadmap that the general answer would be considered to be Osis. Now, actually, to
Okay,
Magic's point,
we got results. Hold on.
Yes.
are you
Yeah,
going to
yeah.
give me a chance? Because we need to get into the roadmap too. So I do
Well, I know,
want
but-
to explain Osis.
Yeah, go for Osis. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, because Osis is another planet from the Old Republic era, but it also did get represented in the Clone Wars television series, and it has been partially canonized, which draws a lot of interest to a lot of people. And beyond that, it's considered the library planet of the Jedi. Now, before the Last Jedi movie came out, it was also one of the planets that, because of its history and the way it was understood in the Legends material, there was a lot of theorizing that when Luke was known to have gone to try and discover the origin of the Jedi planet with the first temple, that Osis might have been it, because they knew that there was a Jedi temple there. Of course, with the advent of the movie, it's turned out that it was a different planet, but Osis bore a lot of relevance from that standpoint, was involved in these planets. Also, it was it fell prey to a was it a solar flare or a supernova, I think, that happened. So a very significant global cataclysm. And what in the history of that planet, Frieden Nad himself and a few of the other people we're very familiar with, they were working together against the Jedi, basically trying to take advantage of this supernova. They had to evacuate the entire planet, but they were hoping after the planet was evacuated to slide in there and grab a bunch of these ancient Jedi texts and everything before the planet was destroyed and get out scot-free. So I think that generally the community has come to the conclusion that it must be this one. Also worth mentioning in the live stream that Eric Musco and Charles Boyd did in reference to the roadmap, Osis was being spammed over and over and over again. And they said, obviously it's been mentioned in the chat room a good deal. So I expect it's probably Osis.
Right. Oh, well, here we go. Let's talk about the results. Elise, would you like like me to outline the ones that were in chat? And then you can go into the community poll.
I'm very interested. In
because I am a neutral third party that has
had to
recused myself and have no I have no dog in this fight. We had 2 votes for Onderon.
That's good because animal violence is not tolerated here.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you.
2 votes for Onderon, 3 votes for Osis, or Osis as Aridna says. Thrath had 1, Renvar had 1, and there were 2 that were voted for others. Zios got none, by the way. So,
oh, come on, people.
And then Sniper in chat said Dantooine. So I suspect that Sniper is one of our other voters. So whoever else was it didn't say anything. So it looks like Osis wins with a second place going to Onderon. At least as far as chat is concerned.
I guess I should also mention that of all the planets I could find mentioned in these series, as well as what were included in this poll, Osis, or whatever, Harath, and Renvar were the only 3 that did have a Jedi temple on those planets at the time, previously.
By the way, I want to make sure that our community knows what an expert job Redna did putting this poll together. I mean, there was some discussion about it, but there was I know Kid Lee had done a kind of a, hey, the moment he knew that the comic books, whatever, he got right back into it and did a lot of the work. And then so we took some of his stuff, and then I know Redna applied some of his own lore knowledge to it, but actually came up with a pretty feasible set of possible results. So here's hoping.
I came up with the poll
idea,
and then I said,
and Redna
give me
built
some
it.
answers.
Yes, no kidding.
I have to say this though. I literally can't not say this, and I'll make this really super quick. The library planet that we were talking about, Osis, is kind of canon now. Well, the reason why they can't make it fully canon is because then that would bring in the legacy comic books. And if you're not familiar with those, that is a descendant of Luke Skywalker. It's based around the character Cade Skywalker, who is rejecting the Jedi. So therefore they won't fully canonize it, because then it brings in the whole legacy comic book series. But if Luke Skywalker,
it's kind of like a slippery slope in that sense.
Right, so Luke Skywalker didn't
make Rey a
Mara
child
Jade
and we
now.
can bring it back.
Right, so Luke Skywalker hasn't married Mara Jade in this new timeline that they're doing. So therefore, they don't have Ben Skywalker because he's someone else now. And so he doesn't marry that one chick, and they don't have kids. So then Kate Skywalker doesn't actually exist because Luke Skywalker and Martin J didn't get married. So therefore, they won't fully take care of Ossus that way.
Thanks, Disney. Yes. Okay. The new thing.
All right. So our results for our poll for the community. Ossus was first with 118 votes. Onderon was second, a distant second, sadly, with 26 votes. Other was tied with Onderon with 26 votes as well. Renvar was, what is that, technically third if you have a tie, with 9 votes. Ziost was, what is that, fourth with 6 votes. And Harath got 0 votes. Sad. I'm sad for that planet. I'm sad.
Interesting how many people said Ziost in...
Hey, there's more people who knew that one and not any of the other ones.
You know?
My people!
I guess SWTOR has got me totally convinced that Ziost is Imperial. It's just like, that's what...
Well, I mean, it is. At the time before Bane destroys all the Sith, there's like actual meditation spheres that were type ships that were supposed to help train the young Sith and help them find their masters. And there's literally like temples devoted to just training Sith apprentices there. So I would not call it a Republic planet or a Jedi planet in the least.
Right. So, okay, so we desperately need to get into our roadmap with our remaining time. I go check it out on the SWTOR website. It's the most recent thing that they've posted. Anybody who wants to go check it out, we will have a link to it in our notes. But we have two broad outlines that they have said that they're going to do. One is a 5.9.3 that is coming, I believe, before the end of September. And then sometime later this year, a 5.10 entitled Jedi Under Siege. And that's where all of the good stuff is coming. But in 5.9.3 is currently on the PTS, the public test server. If you are a paid paying member or a, what do they call them now, premium player, whatever, you can go check that out. But the downside is that you have to wait for the queue pops. So they've done 3 active play test sessions, and there's been some streamers that have been able to stream it. But the main feature of that...
It is confusing as heck. I just want you guys to know.
Really?
You think Hutball now is confusing. This one will make you hate Hutball if you don't already. Just
until you figure it out, yeah. But the one that's out there right now, it's what are you laughing at?
Am I gonna have to go? I already have to go in the swearing channel.
It's gonna be so.
So am I gonna have to go into the swearing channel to play this game, like this one?
Put it this way, I was PvPing with these streamers and influencers who were PvPing, and they were all cursing and swearing at the same time. And these are the people that PvP all the time. And I was like, if they are this ticked off and I'm frustrated, this is gonna go great for the general PvP populace. Not that I don't appreciate how much work they did put into it, because it is gorgeous. It's just hard to play.
Okay, well, fair enough. Well, hey, you know what? Okay, so the reason it's on the PTS is because that gives people a chance to give some feedback. If it's hard to play and people have problems with it and it's awful for I don't know how many reasons, they have been taking that feedback into account and have been making adjustments. So I don't know if it's going to end up a delay or not, if they are going to do another round of adjustments. But we're getting kind of close to the end of September, so I don't know what they'll do from here. I honestly don't have a clue, so we'll see what happens. But anyway, the Hutball War Zone is set on Vanden, which is a gas giant. It's kind of up in the upper atmosphere. There's a lot of falling hazards that are apparently the heals, and Magic, you could probably attest to this. The heals that you get to pick up in the little items that you can run into, kind of closer to the outer edges.
Yeah, I'll just say this. I didn't see one person in 2 days that picked up any of that stuff. Just saying.
Really?
I was going to say,
too dangerous.
Somebody will blow you up the sides, right? I mean, that makes sense.
Well, yeah, and not to mention, it's just literally like, you know how if in Hutball you control the mid, you basically get the match if you control mid, like that's your match.
Mm-hmm.
In like 7 minutes, however long it was, with both teams fighting hard and like trying so hard to control mid, no one was going to go out to the sides, because if you lose mid, it doesn't matter that you got any of this crap because you lost the ball. They're going to score. We had one score in like however long the match was, and it was the longest it could go. We had one score on 2 teams, and it was literally like a bitter end fight. And at the end, everyone's like, this was the least satisfying Hutball match I've ever had.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody was going to the sides because nobody wants to give up mid. Because once you give up mid in a Hutball match, there's a good chance you're going to lose.
That just makes me wonder whether or not they need to design the Hutball map different. I mean, I just don't see that very. It's the same thing with what's the one? I can't remember what it is. Is it Civil War where you have grass and snow, and then everybody runs and takes those, and then proceeds to spend the rest of the match fighting over the middle point. Like, that's so not fun. And then I always end up being the designated person to guard
the node guarder,
point, which is fine me because
I know. I'm like, Elise, go do this, and you're like, okay, I got this.
Hey, you know what? There is a strategy.
Salty, I'm like,
there is a strategy to guarding the node. You have to call incoming, right? You have to make sure that you get the intel out there.
This is not a PvP.
And survive as long as you can.
PvP episode.
Hey, I shut my mouth while you two waxed on. You're gonna do it for me. Dang it!
I'm just saying, this time.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah,
so
yeah. We're getting that is agreed. It is off topic. So
Master mode, God's the machine.
Yes. So master mode, gods from the machine. Magic, tell us what is your take on that? Because I know that they said that they weren't going to do that.
Every Nightmare Raider cannot stand Isaacs. We hate Isaacs because it's a pain in the butt. Is not really truly fun, but once you get it, you're so satisfied. And you're like, I'm never doing that again. And now they're coming out with Nim with it, and you're like, no, I gotta do this again.
So do you think they're going to come out with a harder
Magic Case is done? So I'm sorry.
A harder Isaacs fight.
Isaacs, Revan, and Isaacs. Like if you look at the two bosses in the game, hard mode that are most difficult, it's Revan and Isaacs. Like when you have a prog team, it's either you prog the rest of those operations, or you prog those bosses. Because once you get the rest of them down, they're not difficult. It's those two end bosses that's literally make or break for you. Because you got HK over here that is the worst, and then you've got Isaac's period and all the ads and everything that you have to do and the tethering and all that stuff. I can't imagine what their nightmare mode of that is, and it's truly terrifying for me. And I love Nightmare Raids. Hearing this, I'm like, oh yes, I can't wait to do Tithe. Oh, I can't wait to do Skyva. And then I think of Isaacs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd rather die. So,
you will die, so you get your wish.
Yes. Yes.
Sorry, bad joke.
I hate to say this, but I will probably never touch Nim Isaacs. I probably never will. I'm sorry. I'll attempt all the others.
So
they are. Imagine me trying Isaacs.
So another feature though is a fifth tier of gear which is going to be craftable. So there's a lot of speculation in the community.
Okay, wait a minute. Before we move on to that.
Well, it's pertinent to this though, because I think gaining that will give you the DPS output, all that stuff that you need to be able to probably take on a master mode Isaacs.
Right.
So
but my question has to do with the master mode itself, not how to bite it. Beat it.
How to bite it. Hey, that's probably more accurate anyway.
I thought they said they weren't going to do any more nightmare level rating.
They did say that
a year ago.
They did say that.
How
and
are we here?
It's because they didn't want to get all of us excited and being like, where's our content? Where is it? You guys promised, and you said it on this time frame, and it's not here. So by them saying they're not going to do it anymore and they release it, they're benevolent, and they've given us a gift. That's what I think.
I'm sorry, that's lame.
I didn't say it wasn't.
I understand your explanation.
Yeah.
I get that. But I think it's lame.
That they had made a promise that they were never doing Nightmare Mode ever again with Revan and Temple of Sacrifice, or what, Ravagers and Temple of Sacrifice. And then they said that they were going to, and then they decided that they weren't going to, and now they've decided they're going to again.
I thought their whole explanation for why that raid, the Gods of the Machine, is okay. Coming from someone who is super casual raiding, I don't really like that raid because it's just way too complicated for me, someone who just does it every once in a while.
Gods from the Machine is definitely a casual raid killer.
I've done it.
Right.
So, on the PTS, but it was I thought the whole reason why they made it complicated and blah 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 was so that it would straddle that casual blah blah blah. I thought that was their whole like defense for not going Nightmare Mode, and suddenly
that's why I'm terrified.
Nightmare Mode, y'all.
Because you remember what they did with the augments? They told you they're going to put out new augments so that you'll be better able to handle Isaacs. And then they've already released Isaacs, and you already have to complete it by a certain amount of time to get the title and the movable mount that's legacy bound. But then they gave it to you after. So after I've already got my Isaac's achievement, then I got the schematics to craft the augments, which
Right.
turned
Yeah,
out to be
that's
really
backwards
worthless.
for sure.
Worthless, like super worthless. The accuracy ones are the only ones worth making. So to me, I'm like, is this craftable gear really gonna be worth it? Because the crap I went through doing that same anathema flashpoint over and over and over again to get those schematics, and then come to find out they're not really worth it. It was very frustrating. So I'm skeptical about
So
this
wait,
gear.
you're not happy to find out that to get the best gear in the game, you don't need to actually play it?
I agreed. Just have it crafted for you. It's not even tied to legacy level, which is like, why would I bother? I'll just go buy the armor, and not even have to bother with the legacy.
But it'll be expensive, you know it.
Right.
It'll be expensive on the which then weeds out a certain group of people if they don't play, either grind the crap out of the
95%
game,
of the
or
player
they've
base,
been there a long time and have just amassed.
Well, here's the problem, though. My biggest issue with this is that those people that attain these gear sets to do Master Mode, Gods from the Machine, or whatever, are then going to turn around and show up in my Hutball match and show up in my PvP. Right. Yeah. And now I'm going to be blasted by these people that got significantly higher output, so that means I have to now go do this content. So I don't like the ramifications of this.
This content has nothing to do with the gear.
I know, but that's what.
But the gear is going to.
Everybody's going to be able to afford to buy the gear.
Right.
So the playing
that's
field
the
is not
definition
level.
of pay to win, though. I mean, if you don't pay, you don't win.
So that's the issue here.
But those
is that
people are going into PvP though. It's not like locked out for just people with this gear. You're going to have regular people going in there, and then it really is, in a sense, pay to win if you're putting on that gear into PvP.
Now, anybody can go earn this gear, granted. Yes, but it also creates, in the community, it creates, like, only Master Mode raiders will really have, assuming.
You'll have people like me who are
assuming
crafters,
that the schematic drops.
Groups. Yes, well, you'll have people like me who have all my crafters. I craft things for my groups all the time, and you'll have just a few select people who really get the stuff. They'll craft it, and those are the ones who are going to corner the market. And then you'll get a few that get lucky and get schematics, but then they're not in the
corner of the market. So what's going to happen is that we're exacerbating there's economic ramifications to this.
Yeah.
In the SWTOR economy. Like I said, the more I unpack this, the less I like this idea. I mean, unless they make the schematics drop so that a lot of people can pick them up, and then who cares?
As far as the economy is involved, like, that's an excellent, wonderful, good thing. Crafting's relevant.
Right, but if it's too easy to get,
if you want to get the best gear, then you make it rather than go and play.
They
the best
have to kind of pick that middle ground, though. Like if it's too easy.
However,
you don't play PvP to get the best gear to play PvP. You have to go get it some other way. Like, end of day, what they've decided is end game content is not the way that you get the best gear in the game. And that's their decision. That's what they've decided to do with it.
There's a middle ground that they have to walk. If you make it too easy to get, then it's going to flood the market. Everyone's going to have this gear, and which means that you have too many people that don't have to climb the CXP levels to get massive in-game gear. So they want to stay away from that. But they also want to stay away from having it that the schematics only drop in Master Mode content, because then only 5%, 2% of the player base are super OP in PvP. So I don't know, but I just like both of those extremes don't work for me, and I'm tentative.
I just wonder if it's going to be worth it. That's what my hang up is. I don't mind the crafting. I don't mind the buying it or the selling it or all that stuff. I don't mind that. What matters to me is it going to be worth my time hunting for these schematics, getting all the stuff I need to craft it? And then I go to craft it. Are my stats going to be significantly increased? And if they are, will it be easy to min-max at the end when I need to tweak and get the exact build I want? And if not, am I going to suffer for it? Because I don't want to go
if you've got less than
crap.
Ideal mods, for instance, enhancements or whatever, how do you find the replacements?
But at least they're releasing a new tier around no major content and no level cap increase. And here's an artificial reason for you to now basically be considered started over on your gear for no apparent reason, and you're going to be excluded from groups and everything that are taking it super serious.
Well, then 6.0 comes out. 6.0 is going to come out in 6 months or 8 months or whatever and blow all the soul out of the water anyway. There's probably, I assume, another 5 levels.
Well, but we don't know that.
I'm totally assuming.
This might be the new level cap for all we know. Like this gear might be the new like gear tail.
Well, I'm saying with every 2.3, 4 whatever, every major update, I'm going to go on track record. So this is, like I said, this is an assumption. If they give us 5 extra levels, there's automatically new, we're now in the 250s, 260s, 280s gear content, or rating levels, and so maybe this won't stick around for very long. I just don't know. I don't know what to think about it.
Right. I mean, I like the fact that it's craftable. Frankly, that might seem strange, but as I've said before, I find a lot of crafted stuff gets really cornered, and it's kind of irrelevant at the majority of the levels until you get to the high tier stuff. So I like the fact they're trying to make crafting important. This is a small thing, right. But the piece that I don't like is look at how many people stopped wanting to play because mercs were everywhere in PvP.
My merc healer has always been my favorite. She's my highest valor level.
Well,
people
yeah,
get over
you notwithstanding,
actually,
but not everybody.
Right.
And I've had people specifically not want to play it. Because it was mercs everywhere.
Right. Well,
so is this going to come back around with now everybody's got this high tier 5 gear? And then lastly, I've seen in other games where they make you go play PvE when you're strictly a PvP player, and there's always grumbling about that they want to play the content they want, and they don't have to be artificially forced to play other content that they don't want. And so are we going to get into that?
Right.
You have to go.
Yeah, you start to unpack this, it gets hairy fast.
So.
Yes, that's Redna, I wanted to bring up something that you've mentioned in like maybe 3 episodes previously, that they are bringing about a ban to legacy where you no longer have to ban individual characters. You can ban a person by their legacy. So literally pub side and imp side. If you've been harassed by somebody, especially PvP is going to be interesting now, let me tell you. If someone bans you, like they do the ban, is it like a block where they can't talk to you, or is it like guild? Because
okay, so are we moving on to guild improvements?
Looks like it.
So the legacy ban is a guild-wide thing, at least as far as I understand it. This is not individual. So it's not if you're harassing me, I can ban your whole stinking legacy. And I think in the live stream they mentioned this. That don't misunderstand. It's for guild only.
I did not.
So you can't join the guild on another character.
I was at my son's school, so that's why I'm a little iffy on that.
Right. I think it's still under consideration. They're still working on individual legacy bans.
Remember that Musco said something about the game knows, even if you go and create a new name or something, they know who you are.
Yes.
If you remember, he said that in the stream.
Because I'm sure that there's some key in the table that
Well, because when they say legacy, they mean account. It's just the account on the server. If you go to a new server, you're not going to have that ban in place.
True.
Well, then they need to use a different term, because when they say legacy, they mean like per server, because you have a different legacy per every server. So I don't think that's a great choice of words. And they said increased rank cap. What do they mean increased rank cap? Do you mean like?
Okay, so the way I understood this is you have guild ranks, right? So for instance, you have a guild. You have a guild leader's obviously one, and your members are another one, and you can create any amount of other. Hey, this is an officer. We have a lieutenant and a captain and a and there is a set. I think it's like 8 or something is the maximum amount that you can have. They're going to expand that, so there's probably going to be more ranks. So rank for everybody. It's like Oprah. You get a rank, and you get a rank, and you get a rank, and everybody gets.
Yes, and I don't know if people really understand, but like it becomes an issue. Actually, we've had this issue where we have some people where we want to be able to let them have certain permissions, but not all the permissions, and we want that to go with each kind of the rank, so that maybe we might need to move people on and off of that. To
like, I'm not an officer, but I bug Elise enough that I want to be able to edit the guild ship. I mean. Yeah. Things like that.
And the best guild improvements they could do, and I sure hope this is going to be in this update, is that everything is role-based. You make it so here you apply your ability to edit the ship not to individuals but to a rank. That's what we need, and they already do that kind of in the guild tab, but make it so that all of these permissions for the guild bank, for the guild ship are all editable within one interface. Instead of
And
having to
it
go to
better
the
be by legacy and not by character, or else
Yeah.
I'm gonna scream.
Sorry. So
Yeah.
I know that I'm a little out of the loop here, but I wanted to make sure that we understood that increased rank cap was the fact that there are now an increased number of ranks.
Yes.
Right.
A number of
Previously, there was like a
slots
max
for you
That's
to.
what I was
like
asking.
Correct.
6 or something.
Yeah, that's what we were just talking about.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So now it's like there's gonna be dozens of ranks that you can make, and you can customize them to whatever.
Well,
And
however
now-
many they're giving us. So
Now they're saying
there's
they're
really
gonna have
not that many.
communication.
Yeah,
They're
there's
gonna
about
do the
8 or 9 right
communication
now.
Guild stuff. Am I reading that right? They're gonna do communication like mail through the guild
Yes.
stuff. Because I heard I was
Like guild email
on
blasts.
WoW the other day, and someone's like, "Well, we've had that here in WoW for years," and I'm like,
Yes, we're just
I
not
don't know,
catching
I've been
up.
here for like 2 months. So
Right.
Oh yeah, no, this is something that they've been asking since launch, is that there was a
Yes.
way for the guild to communicate to all of their members.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it is very common in other MMOs. It is like frankly shameful that they haven't incorporated till now.
Right.
But I'm not going to look at it that way. I'm going to say, yes,
Yes, agreed.
thank you, we're getting it.
Yeah, and
That's what I'm thinking.
heraldry.
Cool.
So heraldry is the ability
Heraldry sounds awesome.
to have everybody in your guild bear your symbol in some kind of way. I guess there's flags.
You can
and-
craft decos. Now they said that
these-
you're not going to be able to like actually hand draw for obvious reasons, but you will. I mean, so probably there's a couple dozen worth of like icons that you can kind of figure out how you lay it out or whatever. But there is going to be guild heraldry and decos that you you could do this. Yeah, like cool.
Redna's
Like you could
excited,
put your
guys.
Havoc Squad symbol on your shoulder, that kind of stuff. Like pretty awesome.
No, I'm looking forward to that. Like that's a lot of these are systems that the community has needed for quality of life a long time ago.
Now,
We can
one
lament
thing-
that it's just finally coming, but I agree with Redna. I'm just glad it's here.
There's one thing though that I don't see on this list that I'm just gonna be simmeringly angry that it's not there, is being able to invite people while not in the game.
Yes, agreed.
That
Like
just
guild.
lights that
Yeah.
just
And it
taps-
shows up in their mail, and they can respond to it in their mail.
That's right.
Yeah.
Because I know I've done it.
Yeah, I don't mind
Jess
that I
has
need to
done
be.
it. I
able
don't
to
know
invite,
if
but-
Sakaria's done it, but I have literally seen somebody say something to Discord, got my butt out of bed, come downstairs
exactly. Yeah.
to bring someone to get somebody
To
in.
get on the
I know
game.
Jess has done it,
Right.
and it's a pain in the butt. I want to just be able to
I've
do
done it
on
too.
the web, and we want to be
I've logged off.
And with
I'm like,
everybody,
I'm
it's
going
like,
to
hey,
bed.
I mean,
will you invite
we're
my
trying to be
12th alt?
nice, Yeah, but I'm going to tell you that
Right.
my husband has not been pleased with my doing that in several occasions. So I'm just
What is-
saying.
What is the progression system now with Guild?
So,
Or what
so
is
the
it?
guild, the way I understand the guild progression
Oh, yeah,
system
this is
is
so
that
awesome.
guilds will now have levels, and you can level up your guild. Now, what that means
That
and
is so much
and-
pressure.
and where that goes and what you do with it, I don't know. I have no idea what the
I
cap
feel like
is.
this. I imagine it's kind of quasi tied into like achievements and stuff too. Like as the guild performs or achieves certain.
Like I'm in 3
Whatever-
guilds.
however
That's
you
a
do
lot
it,
of
right.
pressure.
Yeah, and it
Only-
probably will be, but
you-
it's up
you
to the
should
guild to
only
decide to
feel
do.
pressured to contribute to the guild that you care about this aspect.
See now,
However,
Magic
I'm going
is a
to
member
say
of like
that-
4 guilds. So
Right,
that's
the
her
second
problem.
side of that is OMG WCFML guild versus guild PvP.
Yes.
Sounds really
This
great
is awesome.
until you have 3 or 4 or 5 guilds. Then you're like, oh crap. But no, originally I would have.
What
thought that
happens
was
when you?
super
What
epic.
happens when you're the first guild that you're a
Gonna
member
dump
of?
this guild
PvP is the
PvP.
second guild that you're a member of. What do you do?
Gonna be back up, like, dude, this is freaking fantastic. I'm so excited.
Yeah, lots of good things coming. My goodness,
We didn't talk about the role playing and that there's appearance changing decorations. Holla. Clearly,
that is
I
pretty
would bring
cool.
that up.
that is pretty
It's
cool.
like, yes, yes. please.
I had to bring that up. That wasn't on the list of the show notes.
It
but
isn't,
I'm
yeah.
saying that was
Well,
what
so-
I said in the chat, and Redna and I were like, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
appearance changing for role players.
I'm reserving my excitement on
so
that because
sick.
I don't know how extensive it's going to be. If there's a lot to it, that's going to be great. But if it's very limited, it'll be essentially worthless. So
Okay.
we'll see how
It's
much they do.
incredibly significantly limited in the fact that it doesn't work outside of your stronghold, period. So there you go. That's your limit. That's a big deal. However, they did say you could look like different things. You could even look like different objects, Like you could make yourself a plant or whatever. And realistically, one, this just sounds like a
That's
hell of a
an
lot
epic
of fun.
role play. Let me tell you.
Extra life.
I'm a
But
fern.
yeah, you're going. That's a big deal.
Right.
Is for the role playing. This is going to be a really great thing. You know.
So when your guild does a role play event and you get the role of being the tree, it'll take you back to when you were in elementary school, and that was the role you got then too.
I didn't even get to be a donkey for the nativity scene. I had to be the hay in the corner.
Well, this for some reason, this whole thing just makes me think of the Lego Star Wars series where you go up to get your disguise and it's just they put a helmet on you of something else.
Oh, goodness.
And the helmet doesn't actually go over your head.
I'll just say SWTOR has got me so hardcore spoiled with the outfit designer thing, because now I'm a WoW. I'm constantly wanting to transmog my outfits because they annoy the crap out of me. And I found out the other day that it gets more expensive every time you do it.
Yep. Hey, so what do you know? SWTOR is ahead in one aspect.
Whatever outfit I want. Ugh. Yes.
So okay,
we prefer that.
We have to mention.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to move to the next thing. Redna, you can.
Okay, I wanted to sum up basically that I'm just super excited for the heraldry, the guild versus guild PvP, and the fact that you can do that stuff in your strongholds. Like the potential there is just like freaking fantastic, but we'll have to wait and see what that actually manifests as.
Right.
And I think you're about to say, oh yeah, we're supposed to mention these other things that I didn't care about. So go for it.
Right. Yeah, no, like agreed. Like I'm looking forward to this too. I think it's a massive step in the right direction. Definitely about time. So we have some returning companions that are coming with 5.10. Doc, Nadia Grell, who I know a lot of people have been looking. Nadia, I guess her name, Nadia. And Dark Side Jace with Light Side Jace still MIA. So nobody knows where, but nobody cares about Light Side Jace. Nobody cares.
The only thing you have to say about this is actually, so Dark Side Jace is coming back, but Light Side isn't, because they're still looking for her. They said that, right? So the only thing I'm thinking of is this is giving me PTSD flashbacks to the whole Revan. Like, this is how we finished Revan. Oh, the light side one is the ghost, and the dark side one is trying to kill the universe.
This is what I said forever ago.
Or seduce the universe, as the case may be. But hey,
make a story decision and stick with it. Like, fine, mine isn't coming back because she doesn't exist in the canon. I'm okay with that. Don't play
the whole Kimball and Darth Zash thing was not gonna happen.
Yeah, Kim Val, no word on that whatsoever.
That's why they gave us that crappy.
But there are two still outstanding. One of them is Lord Scourge, and who was the other one? They were like, I get the feeling they're going to bring them back in pretty.
Is he not returned? Like, he is fundamental to the entire foundation of this game's launch and the Revan storyline, and he doesn't exist.
Hang on.
And the Emperor, right? So where the hell is he?
Well, hang on. They said they're going to bring them. I get the feeling, and from something that Charles said during the live stream, I think they're going to bring him back in a pretty significant way. There's two. I think Kira Carson was the other one, isn't she?
Expansion significant? Then I am 100%.
Kira Carson and Lord Scourge, interestingly enough, both Jedi Knight companions. But hey, I mean, it's not like they've not been gypped. They're going to come back, and I think there's going to be a pretty significant return to them. So let's.
Children of the
I just had a.
Kira.
Did you want to keep going? No.
Redna's really unpacking this.
My lower brain is just like firing crazy. So I'm like,
I have one lore-ish too about light side Jace, but go ahead. Maybe.
No, I mean, the only thing I had to say, because I already said my piece about Scourge, but Kira, the chat room is mentioning her, and Sakari just did too, is the whole thing about Kira as the whole companion story, and she was the original companion, wasn't she? Like, she was the one that you actually had to go to extra planets for and stuff. So, and her whole pitch was the fact that she was one of the children of the Emperor, but she broken free from that and joined with the Republic and the Jedi. But her story is so hugely relevant. Like, where the hell is she?
Right. Like, Starry Saber actually mentions Theron Cedrax. This is actually a very good comment. Thank you, Starry. But Theron Cedrax. We mentioned Kim Val, Lightside Jace, Kira, Lord Scourge, Zenith. Anyone have a note on Zenith?
Zenith, you can recruit Zenith. He's back. You can recruit him.
I wanted to say yes. Like, Zenith is.
Yes, you can. It's Nar Shaddaa. You have to go to Nar Shaddaa to recruit him.
Yeah, that's why he's still sitting there for me.
Isn't he the one?
Yeah,
He's
anyway.
he's hunting down Skadge or something like that. Is it?
No,
Was it him or?
he's the guy on Balmora who is
Okay,
constantly
I'm confusing
talking
him
down
with
to
someone else.
Tychord
That's
on.
the question too. Did they bring back Skadge? Or
Yes,
did-
you
Yes.
got to
Just
kill
the
him or
original
pick him
one?
up.
Same with Brunemark, like you could kill him or keep him.
Right.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So they did give that option. Okay.
Mhm.
About Lightside Jaisa, what if Lightside Jaisa is one of the warriors that you're familiar with that's going to come back on either Light or Republic or
Warriors? What do you mean?
side? So they said that it's some people you're going to meet in the
Oh,
in
that would
the story. Wouldn't that be kind of cool?
Right,
Rusk.
so the
Rusk
roadmap
was the
mentioned
one.
that We're
Yes.
going to be having two known entities that were powerful. One coming back for the Republic and one coming back for the Empire. We know the Empire is a trooper, and we know that the Republic is a Jedi, not Revan. It's just for the viewers or listeners right now. So
Alright,
Jace,
that was-
actually, Lightside would be really interesting, and a very interesting way to bring her back. I would actually maybe be kind of interested, approve that, depending on how they handled it. But I
Right.
like that idea.
All right, anyway, go Magic.
What?
Time for
Oh, I
thank
was
yous.
just-
We need to wrap this
Yeah.
up. We're overtime here.
I was interacting with chat. My bad. All right. So, anyways, we would like to say thank you so much to everybody who was here in chat. There was quite a few of you. We appreciate all the input, all the voting, all the lurkers. We got you. Thank you. We appreciate it. We also really, 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 really want to say thank you to the people who download our podcast. You've shot our numbers way up there. They're super awesome. And it helps because sometimes we get a little discouraged looking at numbers a lot on our live stream. But when we see our downloads, it is so great to know that the podcast part of this is so greatly appreciated. So thank you. And thank you to our Patreons. You all rock. And the rest of you who are not patrons, you rock too, just in a different way. We appreciate you.
And I have to agree. We all love you long time. However, it is also worth mentioning that Sakari has been phenomenal. We are essentially caught up on the podcasts. So shout out to the podcasts.
Oh yes, on the published episodes, right?
Yeah, we're up
Awesome.
and out.
Heck
Like,
yeah.
We're
That's
current.
rare for us people. But hey,
Like the stopgap is Sakari has to give it to me, and then I actually do have to put it out. There have been occasions where he gave it to me and I delayed on putting it out, but we are actually today current. Because blessing of blessings, I was sitting at my computer when he texted and said, "Hey, here it is," and I was like, under an hour. Okay, it's live. Good to go.
I know.
So
and then I turned right around and put it on the website. You and I were just like tag teaming. It was great.
Yeah, it's definite bromance, behind the scenes bromance there.
We
So,
need to kick that
anyway.
back into gear, man. Like it's been too long.
Funny.
Moving right along before we kill ourselves.
Fair enough. So that brings us to the end of the episode. The council is adjourned. If you'd like to reach us, you can email us at thecouncil@thecouncilswotor.com. Like our Facebook page at facebook.com/thecouncilswotor. Facebook's the devil. You can find Elise on Twitter at abrown35, Magic at the Magic Ace, me at R3DN4, and Sakari at I am Sakari. Also, don't forget our Patreon page at patreon.com/thecouncilswotor, where patrons can catch the articles we're talking about behind the scenes and exclusive backstage access to our after show chat, as well as a lot of these links that we were talking about today. That's it for this week, guys. May the force be with you.
Oh, wow. We haven't had that yet?
Nope.
I understand.
You are on this council, but we do not grant you the rank of master.
What? How can you do this? This is outrageous. It's unfair. How can you be on the council and not be a master?
Take a seat, young Skywalker.
Forgive me, Master.